Now, as I had mentioned earlier, we are joined by Pius Nunda, who is the Director, Finance and Administration, Howard and Associates Strategic Consulting Limited. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Tess, for having me this evening. And I look forward to having a very rich discussion as far as the budget 2022-2023 is concerned. Yeah.
What is your immediate reaction to the budget reading?
Yeah, so thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Tess. And as I've mentioned, the budget 2022-2023 comes in at a time where most of majority of Kenyans really, are down there because of the economic situation of the country. Most of people are economically hit. And we've seen the Minister for Finance reading this budget at a time when we have seen the inflation rates have gone quite high. The cost of the common commodities are quite on the skyrockets, and majority of Kenyans, of course, really expected the government today to be able to be very considerate, and more so in the area of taxation that has really made the prices of the common commodities really go high. Yeah, but of course, over and above, there are certain areas and some of the measures the government has taken just to be able to ensure that they respond to that kind of need.
So do you think that Kenyans' expectations have been met by this budget?
Well, I would say yes and no, in the sense that currently, as we are all aware, there are certain factors that have really made our economic situation to be at the level where it is, including the global pandemic of COVID-19. And we have seen the government trying to really mitigate such kind of situations. And some of those are, of course, beyond the government. We have also seen the budget being read at a time when the cost of fuel, and that fuel itself is not even available. The cost of fuel has also really gone up, and this is largely attributed to the global, economic meltdown, I would say so, also occasioned by, situations like the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Such there's nothing much that the government can do. However, we have seen the government coming up with initiatives that would rather cushion the common Kenyan from the harsh economic situation. So I would say yes and no. And of course, going forward, we have seen the minister highlighting some of the tax measures that the government has taken just to be able to ensure that the prices of commodities really go up. Both, commodities that would be used directly for farm inputs, agricultural inputs, and of course in the area of manufacturing, that at the end of the day would have a net effect of increasing the cost of the commodities.
Well, several sectors have received the lion's share, with about 544 billion Kenya shillings going to the education sector, 317 billion to the police force, 212 to the development and management of roads. What's your take on these allocations?
Yeah. So the allocations, I would say, education sector, for instance, that has gone with the lion's share, it's coming at a time when the government is implementing the new curriculum, the CBC. And of course, such transitions come at a cost. And so we have also seen that occasioned by the fact that the government has to ensure that we have quality training for the teachers who are going to ensure that curriculum is implemented favorably, including the putting up of infrastructure that will be able to support that kind of system. Yeah, so I would say that is fine, but this is also the time where we are going to see more number of teachers being employed just to be able to respond to that kind of need, because for the very first time we are going to have the transition from the first CBC examination class transitioning to the junior high school. So it comes at a time when the need is much, and I think the fact that such has been allocated to education sector, it is still fine. And of course, education sector, we are still talking about basic education. We are talking about TVET that right now is really coming to support the young people. We're also talking about higher education, science and technology that also, and that also will support the area of research. We also have help in there. Yeah, so education is quite a big sector. So I think that budget allocation is still fine. What we always say is that so long as the government comes up with policies and measures that will ensure that that kind of money that has been allocated there is used responsibly. We just saw the other time when the Minister of Education coming up, giving us quality assurance about the standards of the classrooms that have been put up for the purposes of the transition from CBCs to junior high school. So that is something that we must insist that we need value for money. Going to the other sectors like infrastructure, we have seen a lot. The Jubilee government has really spent a lot in terms of infrastructure improvement. And of course, with good infrastructure comes, it's an enabler of the economy. So we have seen that, and also you've also mentioned the area of security where the government has also, and we are still grappling with issues of insecurity. The Somali, our borders are still, need to be safe. Yeah, and such. So I think I am okay, I'm fine. That allocation is still okay, but of course, we also have other sectors like agriculture that are still also going with equally good chunk of money.
Let me ask, just as a side digress a bit, this is the last budget by the Jubilee government.
Yes.
What do you think in terms of legacy of the kind of budget it has done as the last one? What would you comment about that?
Thanks, Tess. The Jubilee administration, as we are all aware, came into play or took over the government from the Kibaki-led government in 2013. And remember, when they came, it was Jubilee government was the very first, they were the very first implementers of the new constitution. And as at the time when they're taking over from Kibaki government, our budget was at 1.7 trillion, actually 1.667 trillion. And today we are talking about a 3.3 trillion budget. That is double the budget, of course, in a period of 10 years. Now, over the years, we have seen the budget allocation increasing, gradually, including from last year where it was about 3.1. About 2-3 years ago, it just crossed the 3 trillion mark. And of course, this is where everybody else was saying, fine, we are seeing the better chunk of that is going to the Big Four agenda. So in terms of legacy, I would say the Jubilee administration took a leap, what I would call a leap of faith, because they boldly picked on 4 key transformation agenda, what they were calling the Big Four agenda that is live and kicking up to today. And I am very certain, because I have, as you have seen today, quite a number of, quite a good chunk of money has been allocated to the Big Four agenda, including manufacturing, including housing and universal health care. Yeah, so in terms of legacy, I would say we have a government that is coming, closing the day at a point where the country is still grappling with high debt compared to the GDP. The gross national product is at what I would call a 1-to-3 ratio of 1-to-3, whereby our debt ceiling right now has been crushed, and we are talking about over 9 trillion. Last year it was about 9.8 trillion, and we are still at that point where our budget, we are proposing a budget that ourselves we cannot raise enough revenue to be able to cater for that. So the Jubilee government is transitioning and, of course, leaving the legacy of the Big Four agenda, but leaving the country, what I would say, at a more difficult position in terms of the debt ratio to the GDP that we have as a nation.